We will be talking about the history of Al-Azhar Mosque. Al-Azhar Mosque, the first congregational mosque to be built in Fatimid Cairo following the conquest of the Fatimids and Gawhar al-Saqali to Egypt for the Caliph al-Mu'izz li-Din Allah al-Fatimi, and the establishment of the mosque as the first congregational mosque in the new capital. Al-Azhar meaning the radiant, or other scholars believe that the name itself is after the name of Fatima al-Zahra, the daughter of Prophet Muhammad. There are also talks about or other theories that maybe the name is after the name of the palaces of the Fatimids, which were Al-Qusur al-Zahira, or the shining and radiant palaces. Al-Azhar is the beacon of Islamic studies, the beacon of Islam, and it is one of the finest models. The Azhar started as a Shiite mosque, but then with the Ayyubids and Saladin's conquest to Egypt, it was closed, and then it was converted into a Sunni mosque. And ever since then, Al-Azhar, whether its architecture or its spiritual message, has been sending a message of peace and a message of love and a message about the right image of Islam to the world. It started on, of course, it was still big, but on a smaller scale, and it kept on growing throughout the centuries, where each caliph and ruler of Egypt added something to it till it reached its present view or its current look. And we will be talking about the history of Al-Azhar Mosque, and I'm happy to have with me Mr. Yasser Sabiq, and he's a researcher of Islamic monuments. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Yasser, thank you very much for being with us today. If we can speak about the characteristics of the Islamic monuments and the Islamic architecture most known here in Egypt, how do you see them?
General, when we talk about the Islamic building in Cairo or in Egypt, we have different system, we have different designs, we have different construction where this date back to different times, different periods, where we have a lot of Islamic dynasties ruled Egypt. Each dynasty mostly had special design, but in general, when you look to a building or any Islamic monuments, you find a lot of elements, art, decoration from other times. For example, when we talk about the Islam in Egypt, Egypt became Islamic country with 21 for Hijrah, when Amr ibn al-As came from Saudi Arabia and he liberated Egypt from Roman. He was built a first mosque in Egypt called Amr ibn al-As Mosque. We're sure for all of the people know this mosque and know it is where it is location where this mosque it is or Amr ibn al-As Mosque. It is location in famous area called religious community. This mosque, when we look to its design, we can see it is design a traditional design. What a traditional design mean? Mean open court in the middle, like the court where we are now in Al-Azhar Mosque. And the open court surrounded with four riwaq. What riwaq mean? Means a place where for the people to pray, where this have a ceiling, have a roof, not open. But when you look to this in Amr ibn al-As, this became a traditional design where we can see this in many mosques, like Amr ibn al-As only. When you look to another mosque where maybe you know this one called Ibn Toulon Mosque, you find this design also, open court, and you find also riwaq or surrounded with riwaq. And mostly we find riwaq or the biggest riwaq called riwaq al-Qibla. Riwaq al-Qibla, where in this one we can see the niche where the people can find Qibla or Mihrab, where this meaning direction of Mecca. So this for the mosques or the traditional design. But we have also different or other designs for the mosques, like for example, when you look to Muhammad Ali Mosque in the Citadel, you find a different design. What's this design called? Called Ottoman design, where you find the prayer house, where this is special place where prayer house for the people where they pray with the domes, and we can see also semi-domes or half domes and four domes in the four corners and the open court, not in the middle like in here in Al Azhar Mosque. No, we find this in back or in other side. We have also another design for the mosque where Mamluk mosque. Mostly in Mamluk time, we find the mosque not only for the prayer. We have madrasa. Madrasa wherein it is designed similar like a mosque but not in Riwaq. Not you find a lot of columns or pillars like in like Amr ibn al-As mosque, like Ibn Tulun mosque or Al-Hakim bi-Amrillah mosque or here Al-Azhar mosque. No, you find the big arch, this where this called Iwan. Madrasa, it is a role not only religious role, but in other side also the students or the Islamic students can study where madrasa meaning like a college, not like a school, where they study before to come to the or to the university where you know Al-Azhar Mosque his or first was Islamic University, where the second university around all of the world. There were some people said the first one, no, the second one, where first one was in Tunisia, in Kairouan.
Now, actually, Al-Azhar witnessed many changes throughout the centuries. And it started actually different because usually we have what we call, what you call the four riwaqs. Al-Azhar had first three.
Of course, there were three riwaqs and
three,
Al-Hafiz where
yes.
he added another one where behind us.
And it's interesting also because it's different because there is a central corridor in the middle of the Qibla Iwan. So would you talk to us about the characteristic features of Al-Azhar Mosque that makes it different than any other type of congregational mosque?
Of course, where in this one we can see a mix between different construction schools, and from time to another time, you know, each royal or each king ruled Egypt, mostly he tried to add something for this one or for Al-Azhar Mosque, because Al-Azhar Mosque too important for its history, and also Al-Azhar Mosque mostly support the king, not the king supports the mosque, where anyone want to do a restoration or construct something where in this one we can see a lot of construction date back to different times. When also you look to Riwaq al-Qibla, before was more smaller. So when you go to Riwaq al-Qibla, you find two different levels. First level where this low level, this original one, where we can see inside or in middle of this one, minbar and mihrab. Minbar where you know the steps were similar like a pulpit in a church or something like this, and the niche in here also. But when we look behind this one, we can see a different level where this addition was aided by Abdurrahman Katkhoda, where Abdurrahman Katkhoda is date back to Ottoman period, and this man he played important role not only in Al-Azhar Mosque and different buildings, historical building, where sometime he built a new building and mostly he restored another building. And also when we look to the minarets were here date back to Mamluk period, where also we look around, we can see many schools, and the schools date back to different times. So from time to another time, more construction, more development for the decoration, where last restoration, it is opening only was about 1 month ago. So from time to another time, also more restoration for this construction.
Yes, if we can speak about the Islamic tourism here in Cairo, what are the preferred zones for the tourists to be visiting?
General for the Islamic tour in Cairo, when we talk about Ramadan or generally when we look to Islamic tour, I recommend for anyone to go to Coptic or to Islamic Old Cairo, where in Old Cairo you can see the first mosque was built in Egypt, Amr ibn al-As Mosque. So this is too important, especially in Ramadan, where a lot of people going to this one to pray Taraweeh. So mostly good place for the people to know, and the area where we are now, this very important area for anyone to visit, to see what they can see. They can see the most famous street here in Cairo, or first street in Cairo, because you know Cairo where before talk about Cairo date back to Fatimi period, where it was built 385 for Hijrah. Before Cairo, there were many capitals like Fustat where Amr ibn al-As mosque, this meaning a tent, and after that al-Askar, where al-Askar meaning camping, and after that al-Qata'i built by Ibn Tulun, al-Qata'i meaning different sectors, and the Cairo came to the north. When they built Cairo or Jawhar al-Saqali built Cairo, he built a first street in Cairo called Al-Mu'izz li-Din Street. Al-Mu'izz li-Din Street now, I think this is the most famous one, not for the local people, for all of the Islamic world and also for the tourists. So anyone from, or the local people, anyone want to do a religious trip with his family, not only religious trip, but at the same time also funny trip. He can come to this street where we can see here a lot of religious building, where not only Al-Azhar Mosque, and other side from Al-Azhar Street, we can see a famous mosque, Al-Hussein Mosque, also this too important for a Muslim. And also we can see around a lot of places, especially like Ibn Qalawon complex, this is too important, where we can see the Islamic construction in this time, where the Islamic construction now in this street not only date back to Fatimi period, no, date back to different times, where Ottoman time and also Mamluk time, and in this street you can see the building like a mirror, reflect the history, reflects the past. So anyone come to here, I think during Ramadan, especially at night, will be enjoy too much for history and for religious feeling, because the area, sure, very religious area.
Returning back to Al-Azhar is interesting because the riwaqs in it for studying, because later the riwaqs were divided each into 11 for studying per riwaq, and they were divided, and parts of it, some were called after those from Upper Egypt, some were the area for the Syrians, the area for Al-Maghariba, according, and it has its own uniqueness in terms of being an Islamic school. It's not like, for instance, as you've mentioned, the Mamluk madrasas where there are 4 Iwans for the different
sects, like Hanbali, Malki, Shafi'i.
But here it's a different type of organization. Would you talk to us about it, please?
Of course. When you look to or the education in this time, first when we talk about Mamluk madrasa, where we said madrasa, it is a role different. Where madrasa is a degree before the university, but when we talk about Al-Azhar University or something like this. So here there were traditional education. Mostly in the beginning, there were or completely dedicated for religious subjects, not find any modern science like now, where now the university became more bigger and they have more faculties. So before, no. Before there were columns and Sheikh Amoud, where Sheikh meaning religious man, and he have good religious education, and Amoud meaning a column or a pillar where he can sit, and the students sit around. The students come to Sheikh to listen to him and to learn from him. So you find in each imam or each Sheikh, he teach different subjects, so the students can sit in here, for example, for hours, a few hours, and they move to another one, where in the end he have or he can have a good knowledge, and after that they do a final exam for him for all of the subjects. So mostly here, education here in university or Al-Azhar University was different lot like madrasa, where madrasa dedicated for the 4 sects, not for the Islamic or the religious items general. Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Yasser Sabiq, the researcher of Islamic monuments, thank you very much for being with us today on Nile Cruise.
Thank you and nice to meet you.
Thank you very much, and now it's time to go to a quick break, but we'll be back for more from Al-Azhar Mosque on Nile Cruise.